Hello, all you amazing people. Welcome to the video. And in this video, I am going to talk about the existential questions that you have that come along with DPDR. And for those of you that are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Dan, and I help people overcome their existential thoughts and their anxious thinking to start to live a life DPDR free. So the thing with these existential questions is that you might be thinking things like, why am I here? Why do people fall in love? What happens when you die? The issue with these type of thoughts is how you engage with them. So with thoughts, right, there's sort of two types of thoughts that we have. There are the thoughts that we can't really control, and then there are the thoughts that we can control. So an example of a thought that you can't really control that might just pop into your head is if you're walking down the street and you see a tiny little puppy and you look at it and you go, oh, that's a really cute puppy. And then you just go about your day, the thoughts just in and gone. And essentially that type of thought you didn't have any control over, and it doesn't really bother you at all. But the type of thought that you do have control over is potentially what you think after that. So you can be like, oh, that's a cute puppy. And then you're like, why is that puppy so cute? Or I wonder what type of dog that is, or I wonder how old it is, or I wonder what its name is. Now, when it comes to the existential questions that are coming into your mind, perhaps you don't actually have any control of these at the moment. Perhaps they're just sort of popping in there, but you do have control about what you do after you've had that thought. What a lot of people with anxious thinking and DPDR do is they really tend to freak out by these thoughts, and they tend to engage with them. And they sort of do this thing called cognitive fusion, which is where you sort of see the world through your thoughts. And this isn't necessarily bad, because if you've had a really good day, or you've just been promoted, or you're feeling really confident and life's going well for you right now, you could have the thought that, hey, I'm pretty cool and life's going really good. So sort of everything that you see is going to go through this sort of thought and filter of, hey, I'm pretty good and life is good. So it can have a benefit in that regards, but it can also have the opposite effect, whereas if you're having the thought of, oh, I'm not worthy and I really suck, then everything that you experience is going to be seen through that line of thinking. Cognitive fusion is an issue with DPDR, because if you try and engage with the thoughts, and if you try and answer the questions that you're having, then you're going to start seeing the world through all this stuff. So if you're having no control over these weird questions that are popping into your head, then why should you make the effort to actually fuse with them and sort of see the world through that medium? The thing you need to do is do a cognitive diffusion. So that means having the thought, and instead of like seeing the world through this thought, you put the thought down here, and you no longer have to see the world through that thought, and you see the world for what it actually really is. So for example, if you do have the existential question of like, why am I alive? Why am I here? And you've got that up and you're fused with it and you're looking through it, everything that you see and everything that you do is going to be through the, why am I here? What's the meaning of my life? And you're just going to constantly be trying to answer that. So what you need to do is you need to take the thought from here down to here, where you're not engaging in it and you're not looking through it. So that means that everything that you see isn't getting filtered through this weird question that you've got. A way you can do that is to make the thought an object, look at it objectively. And you can do that by saying the small sentence of, I just had the thought of blah, blah, blah. So I just had the thought of, why am I here? You can say it again. I just had the thought of, why am I here? What's the point in my life? Yeah, okay, I just had the thought of, why am I here? What's important in my life? And then once you've said that a few times and you've sort of, seeing how that's working for you, you can add the extra thing of, I'm noticing I'm having the thought of XYZ. So I'm noticing I'm having the thought of, why am I here? Okay, thanks for that thought, brain. I really appreciate it. That's great. Yeah, okay, so I'm noticing I'm having the thought of, why am I here? And what you sort of do there is you diffuse it from being able to look at everything through that lens, and you're just saying, okay, I have that thought. Okay, I'm noticing I'm having that thought. And then you're able to sort of keep going with everything else that you're doing in your day or in your life, without having to see the world through that thought. This technique of saying this short sentence is very unfamiliar to you right now. And of course, something that's unfamiliar, it's going to feel a little bit weird. Maybe it's going to feel a little bit difficult. Maybe it's going to feel that it's not actually making any progress. But what happens to things that are unfamiliar after you've done them enough? Well, they start to become familiar. So the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, the more of a habit you're going to get in of doing it. And it's eventually going to get to the point where these type of thoughts, they're just going to be like the cute dog walking along the sidewalk, where you just have the thought and you're like, okay, cool. And then you just keep going with the rest of your day. It's not going to have any impact on you whatsoever. My friends, if you do need help with existential questions or intrusive thoughts, then please reach out to me on either Facebook, Instagram, or book a discovery call. All the info is in the description of this video, and I'd really love to have a chat with you about some of the things you can do, where you are, where you want to be, recovery, and all that type of stuff. So until next time, I will see you all in the next video. Bye.